A very special welcome to Carolyn Howard Johnson, who will share her insights into book marketing. And particularly today, something that is of interest to all the writers out there, because I know on my radio program. Hi, Carolyn. It's so nice
Hello,
to see you. Well,
see you again. So much to talk about.
and that's why I'm so excited that you're going to be talking today and giving us a lesson in what happens when authors are inundated with scam offers. So you know it, you've been there and you've done that. So let's hear about how you fell into a scam.
Well, I guess my very first one was my publisher, and I think we're going to talk about that in a minute. I had journalism experience, I had experience in retailing, which that's all books are, is retailing. We're selling books, right? I had 30 years experience as a founder and my own store, so I knew how to approach retailers to get signings, that kind of thing. I think what happened was that between my public relations and my journalism experience, I really had maybe a touch of hubris. As you know, that's a Greek for comes from the classics, and it means that you think too much of yourself.
I know
so
that feeling.
so there I am, thinking that I'm well equipped for this brand new thing I've got going with my book, and then I'll well be able to market it. That won't be a problem for me, and I will be able to get a publisher, etc. And the first big mistake I made was getting a publisher who claimed to be one thing and turned out to be another. So that was the first one, and then the second one was the most expensive one. After I once had that book published by them and knew that they weren't going to do not any marketing at all, then I knew I was up to me, and I thought, well, now I'm equipped for this. So, so I get started with looking for a publicist, thinking, well, I'm going to need help because I'm going to need to do so much. And I found a great one. She really was great. She had all the credentials. She'd been around a while. She'd worked with books. Um, but I made a really big mistake with her. I I didn't ask her one really important question. If I'd had my book, I would have known that I should ask this question. Okay, so you're a publicist and you do book marketing, but do you do historical fiction, women's fiction, and literary fiction? And I didn't do that because that's what that book was. So I ended up paying her $35,000 before
Oh,
I discovered that all of her fantastic contacts were for mystery writers. And my book definitely wasn't for mystery writers.
oh my
So
God.
that's how I felt. Well, I did pull it out of my budget. I inherited it right at that time, and I thought, oh, my aunt, she would she would love it if I spent this money on my baby. The wonderful the little book I have just written that was set in the city that she's from, and um, I went into it feeling so good, and it was just such a terrible disappointment. So that was the second worst one. But you know, as authors, it's a big industry and it's a different industry. And no matter how we go about, no matter about our book careers, we're going to utilize what we've known from the past, but we're also going to make mistakes based on what we've known from the past. So I know that the idea is to get a grip on yourself. Don't rush into something. That was my other mistake, was that I rushed into publishing. I rushed into it because it was set in Utah, and this was just before the Winter Olympics. Remember that back in 2002, Mitt Romney was the Olympics that year in Salt Lake City, Winter Olympics. And I thought, there they're going to be good for my book because I can work it around the setting. Salt Lake City, which is a city not very many people know too much about, and a lot of what they know about is wrong. So, so I really wanted it published fast, and that was one of the reasons I rushed into getting that publisher. And speed is not the answer. And then the other thing about rushing to publish, and I even have this with my clients, I try to tell them that the review process, we talked a little bit about this on the very first segment um, with you, PatZi, and that's why I encourage people to go back to the early segments, including your celebratory one, the very first one. Uh, reviews Reviews are wonderful no matter how almost no matter how you go about them, as long as you do it professionally. But there's a certain group of reviewers that are absolutely essential if you want to get your book a head start on book sales. I call them the super media. They're the media that the gatekeepers go to. Gatekeepers are the ones like librarians and and booksellers, people who buy a lot of books at once.
But Carolyn, those people, the big book reviewers, they generally aren't interested too much in indie authors or in what we call vanity press, right?
That's right. That's right.
So,
So but I expected that. It's just that I didn't know they also have a really, really long deadline. And if you don't make the deadline before your book is published, then then you won't get in them.
so when you talk about the book that you published, was that a vanity publisher? The
Well,
first,
it turned out to be I didn't know that at the time because I didn't pay to have it published. My idea was that anything that was a vanity publisher, like in the old days, they were the author pays for the publishing itself. Well, these publishers did it absolutely free, but then they didn't do anything. They just put it in a book and put it out on the market, and there I was stuck. So, uh, so there's a lot more to the idea of a vanity publisher. One of them is that real publishing includes book marketing. If it only includes the kind of book marketing that they are going to have you pay for, that they're going to charge you additional for, then that isn't a traditional publisher, even if you didn't have to pay for it up front. It's that marketing thing that's the big important thing there. And their name, frankly. So back to your idea about what do you do about that? In my Frugal book promoter and in my new book, let me get it for you. Um, this is coming out in its third edition soon. It's called How to Get Great Book Reviews Frugally and Ethically. And in this, I'm going to have all different kinds of ways to, first of all, um, identify a publisher who's a fake publisher to begin with, but also how to go in the back door if you miss those reviews. So there's a back door, and I used that, and I was able to get it in a column in Library Journal. And Library Journal is the one that librarians use. The acquisition libraries is just exactly what it means. They're the ones who acquire books. They acquire books uh, to put in on their library shelves. So and remember, this was back when they were buying. Oh, like I was in one small library for Lisa C's uh, presentation, and they said that they were out of her book. And I said, "Oh darn!" They said, "Well, we didn't order enough." And I said, "Well, how many did you order?" Because I'm a journalist, right? I ask questions. And it might have been rude, but oh well, I got information for my clients, right? Um, so I said, "Well, how many do you order?" And they said, "Well, we had 40 coming, 40 books in one sale." That's how important Library Journal is. Gives you libraries across the country.
let's go back to Vanity Press. Over the years, you've heard about scandals with Vanity Press.
So many.
So many.
That's that's right. Not only that, the traditional publishers are shrinking in a sense. Really big publishers are buying up the small smaller ones. So they may still be going under the same name, but they're all owned by really giant. That in a way limits the possibilities for getting published by one of them.
Well, so whether you're traditionally published, whether you're indie published, whether you just publish it yourself, you just get on that KDP and you put your book up. As soon as your book is up on online anywhere, you go through Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Booksy and all of those things. What happens to your email address? Every scammer out there seems to get it because I have so many authors who tell me that their mailboxes are just filled with offers to help them.
You know, I still get that. They should be able to tell by my How to Do It Frugally series for writers. You would think they'd know that, but they don't catch on, and I'm still getting I'm still getting about 3 calls a week anyway for publishers who want to sell me a vanity type situation. I do cover most of this in all of my books a little bit anyway. How to handle it, how to get around it, because sometimes some the I first of all I want you to know I hate the word vanity press. The trouble is it seems to be the only one that the only term that works well, so people really know what you're talking about when you talk about them. So you're kind of stuck with it. But in today's world, you can do pretty darn well on your own as an indie publisher if you take the time to learn what you need to know and learn it from people who have been there, done that, if you will, fallen into their own potholes, know what you're experiencing, know what to warn you away from.
Carolyn, one of the things the authors who have been on Joy on Paper, the radio program, tell me that they get inundated with queries from people who say, okay, I can help you promote your book. I can help you write a script on your book. I can get your book in front of somebody in Hollywood. Ooh. And
Yeah,
all you have to do,
that's a
all you have to
danger.
do is send me your manuscript. Now, what do you say to that?
Well, my knee-jerk reaction this week is, excuse me, have you ever heard of artificial intelligence? I wouldn't send a manuscript out to somebody I didn't know for love nor money, but that's not the question you asked. So, so what do you say to them? Well, you know immediately, so you say no, thank you. Those are come on promotions. They're probably the kind that they're going to charge you for, and you don't need to waste your time talking to them. What you need to waste your time doing is researching the authentically good hybrid publishers. You may still have to pay something up front. They all work in different ways, but you spend your time researching and talking instead of talking to people who are literally scam artists. I call those the Oprah scams. They started out with with this was one of the things my publisher did. As a matter of fact, we talked about that a little earlier. Um, they offered to send my book. Now you know they didn't say how many other books would be in the box to Oprah to be considered for her book of the month that she was doing back then. And by that time, I'd had enough experience with him. It was like, oh, sure, you can just see that huge box of books. Do your research from reputable sources. Reputable sources include people like um, the people you took classes from at a university, instructors, uh, reputable sources are the people in the critique groups that lead your critique groups, not the newbies who don't know anything more than you know. Um, the people you can trust are the people who go to writers' conferences, specifically the ones who are planning it and the ones who are leading seminars there. The ones who write books that have been around a while, that give you valuable information, that get good reviews. Mostly you're going to get from word of and books from real experts.
We have to tell all of the people who watch this program to be careful. There are so many scammers out there. Never send your manuscript. Never open something that they send you because you don't know if they're giving you malware. And just be cautious. And you're exactly right, Carolyn. Trust the people that you've dealt with or that you've researched in advance.
Yes, yes. Not the people who call you on the phone.
No.
I mean, truly, they call and I literally hang up.
Yeah.
And now a little bit better known. I guess it's possible that some of them could be more reliable publishers.
But
It's
that's not how publishers don't call you, um, you know, and it just doesn't happen. So again, Carolyn, this is all great information, and we're going to be talking more. We'll have another program about specific scams. We'll also have program about reviews and really get into the details of how people can find the reviews that they need and how they can find the contacts they need to get somebody to review their book. So again, I think it's all great information. We're going to have another lesson soon. Meanwhile, thank you so much for joining me today.
love being with you, PatZi.
Okay. Well, it's always fun to talk to Carolyn. And one of the reasons that, well, she learned her lesson. Let's just put it that way. And that's why she started this whole series of books about how to save money, how to do things right. And what I like about her books are well organized. She's now an award winning author since her first book came out. She's won so many awards and she's spoken at so many very important events because she really does help with the whole idea of what you have to do if you're an author and how you have to make plans because it's a difficult we're swimming down a big river and it's a difficult one to navigate. And so I really, if you're working on a book, if you're even if you're already a published author, you need to start thinking out of the box. And one of the things Carolyn does is she does have ideas for out of the box promotions. And those are very important because everybody nowadays, all authors have to promote their books. So uh, you can find all of her books online, of course, and I think they're great. And they're help. And I know that many of my listeners on the radio program over 9 years have used her books and have discovered things that they never thought about. And sometimes it really saved them money well in advance because the charges for everything from press releases to publicity to everything is very expensive, and you don't want to waste your money and you want to plan. It's just like if you have to think about it. If you open a cupcake factory, a little cupcake shop right down the street. Okay, you're going to open it up. There's a lot of things you have to do. You might have your grandma's recipe for cupcakes, all the best recipes, but there are so many things you have to do to get to the point of actually making a profit. And it's from knowing the right equipment, from planning ahead, from all that signage that you have to do, and all that. And but it's the same way with a book. As she said, a book is just it's just something to sell. And so for her and for me, because I come also from a business world, I look at it as a business. And so many authors, of course, you hear about them living in their ivory tower. Well, it's a wonderful tower because when you're writing, you really don't care about anything. I mean, you actually are writing for yourself and for your readers, and you're not thinking. You don't stop to think about promoting. It's too exciting. But Carolyn helps you put it in perspective, and that's important. So um, just get her books, and she's going to be back on the program to help us talk about more things. And one of the things I want to talk about, well, first of all, I'm a great believer in autobiographies, about memoirs, and I just interviewed an author the other day. It was very emotional for me, and her book is Unearthed, and written by Meryl Frank. Now, her interview will be up on my Patreon page. Now, what is wonderful about this, and this is well, this is a this is a research book because she started off. The idea was that she would write a simple memoir about herself because she was appointed as an ambassador, a very special one for women's rights, and so she has a lot of background herself. But then when she started and she started looking at her family background, and she discovered that there was a cousin who disappeared in the Holocaust, but she was an actress. And of course, Meryl didn't know anything about her. Meryl had heard a few stories. And that's what happens sometimes. Once you get interested in something, you can't stop. And so her investigation into her family to do her own memoir turned into really almost just a thriller because she had to go back in time to discover what happened to her cousin, who would have been her cousin, Franya Winter, who was an actress, a very popular actress, and it's a wonderful story. I mean, first of all, when you read it, you think, "Oh my goodness, wouldn't it have been just wonderful? What would have happened to Franya if she had lived? If she'd been able to get to Hollywood?" You can tell from the photographs in the book, and she has photographs in the book, and you'll fall in love with Franya. She did all sorts of acting, but you could see also some of her work was comedic, and just from the smile on her face, you want to know something about her and what happened to her. And so I think what Meryl did here, writing a wonderful, wonderful book, was great. It preserves that story. As a matter of fact, it brings it back to life. It's like Franya, who's long gone, but she comes back to life in this book. It's exciting. I really hope. I want to know more about Franya. I want to see her back on the stage. I think if somebody picks this book up and turns it into, a movie, it would be fantastic. It would be a great movie because the actress who plays Franya has a heck of a great part to play. And that interview will be up on my Patreon page. Now, the purpose of my Patreon page is really to put up, after 9 years of being on the radio, I have so many interviews. And I have to, I want to put them up on the Patreon page so that people can listen to them. And it's not just authors. I also have literary agents. I have a lot of interviews with literary agents, people in the publishing world, and also just celebrities like Jamie Lee Curtis and so many others, and sports heroes and military heroes. And so I want to get all of their interviews up there so that you can listen to them. And they will be on the Patreon page. And those ones are all free, so you don't have to worry, but just you can go there and listen to them. Right now, I'm featuring an interview with Delia Ephron. And this interview, it's one of my favorite that I've ever had. And Delia Ephron, if you don't know who she is, well, you should. You've seen her movies, like You've Got Mail, Michael, and so many of her other films, and also her sister Nora Ephron, who did so many films, and her parents, a great writing family of screenplay writers, and her parents wrote one of my favorite movies, old movies, Desk Set, the Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy movie, which I love. And that was written by her parents. And so we talk about that. And of course, Delia was able to go on to the set of some of the films that her parents wrote. And we talk about that too. So check out the Patreon page. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's lots of fun. And I will be, well, as I said, I've got I have a couple thousand interviews that I'm going to have to upload. So, but it'll take me time, which is why I need your help a little bit. If you could subscribe to this channel, because that would help me, and that would be nice. And well, what else? Well, now I decided I want to help you create a micro-memoir collection, not just a micro-memoir. Micro-memoirs are supposed to be 200, 300 words. But what are you going to do with 200, 300 words? It's better if you just collect a whole bunch of them and put them together into a book. And I will show you a very easy way, a fun way, using a really simple program. And it puts, not only will you can put your little micro-memoir, written memoir part in, but you can also add your photographs and add all sorts of fun things. Do you have a bunch of things sort of tucked away that you didn't know what to do with? You've saved them. Receipts from hotels, receipts from restaurants. I have receipts from restaurants. I was digging around in my stuff, and I have receipts from restaurants from years ago. One was like 30 years ago, but it was a very special restaurant, a very special day for me, and I saved it. And I do that sometimes, particularly for me. I will tuck them into a book, and years later, I will read the book again and discover that. But I will show you a cute way and a very, very fun way to use those receipts. So don't throw out any receipts you have, or scraps of paper, or bits of maps, or whatever. I will show you a cute way to turn them into really fun micro-memoir plus. And when you finish them on this program, all you have to do is push a button, and it is ready to be turned into an EPUB, or for Kindle or whatever. So, and you can upload it also, printed version, to Amazon. So, it's really going to be fun to do that, and I would love to work with people. And then anyone who finishes one and I like it, I'll have them come here and show it to us on Joy on Paper Live, because that's what I want to do. I want to help promote people to write, not just famous authors. I'd love to promote famous authors, of course. As a matter of fact, if you love Jack Reacher, Jack Reacher's GoDaddy is going to be on Joy on Paper in a few weeks. And that is, of course, Andrew Child, Lee Child's brother. And, of course, Lee Child's been on the radio program many times. But Andrew is going to be on in a few weeks, and we're going to be talking to him. I just spoke to him he's in England, so as soon as he gets back, I'm going to have him on the program. So that's one thing. And what else? Okay, well, that should give you a few ideas. I hope that you will definitely think about saving those scraps of paper, and I'll teach you how to turn them into a micro-memoir. Now, I'm also, I'm looking for ideas. I'm one of the things, as I said, one of the things I want to do is have viewers join me. So if you recommend an author and I invite that author and they come on the program, the first one to recommend an author that will come on the program, then I will invite you to join us. So I think that would be fun, because I love the interaction between fans and authors. So anyway, that's something coming up. And meanwhile, I'll just want to remind you that read a good book. Really, it's the what can I say? I'm not sure who I want to encourage more: writers to write more or readers to read more, because I think it's really, in these troubled times, it really helps you to read. And you find the right book, and it can change your life. And that's one of the things I want to know. If you have an author who's changed your life. And that was me in a hammock. That's how I spent my childhood, running around in the forest, running on the shores of Lake Superior. Um, well, and even jumping in once in a while, although even in the middle of the summer, Lake Superior is cold. People are always so surprised. I think one of the fun things is we we're called Yoopers from northern Michigan, and Yoopers are known for their sense of humor, their wit, of course, their intellect, and more than once I have um, have convinced somebody to go in the water uh, in July, and they discover it's 32 degrees or something like that. So anyway, it's lots of fun. But get yourself a good book, get yourself a hammock, and sit under a tree and read. And meanwhile, before you do that, join the book lovers. That's me. They're calling me the last of the red hot book lovers, but I really don't want to be the last one. I'd like you to join me. Join me. And all you have to do is subscribe, like, and comment and share. And I didn't know. And this is one of the things that we don't know. Nobody tells us. When I started this thing, I said, "What? Okay, I didn't know anything about YouTube, to tell you the truth, and it's been a fun experience." But you see that subscribe thing? Subscribe, please. It makes a difference, and I would really like to reach more people. If you look at it, if you think about it, how many Americans do not read at grade level? At grade level, it's frightening, and we want them to read more. We want to encourage them to read more. At when this screen changes, it's going to change into um, a, one asking you to give a book to a child in a hospital, but I'm asking you to give a book to a child, any child, anywhere. If you have books, make sure if you have books that you don't need anymore, give them to one of the organizations that gives food away, and they also will tuck in a book. I know that when I was a child, we learned to read from comic books. We didn't have a lot of books. It was not easy, and so it's just great. It's just great to know that you get a book in a kid's hand. So again, just subscribe and like. And I discovered, and they are now telling me, the comment is really the most important thing. So you can comment, you can say whatever you want. But mostly I'd like to know if a book has changed your life. If there's a book that you recommend, or an author that you really, really love and would like to see and perhaps join, please make a comment below. And that's it for today. It's been fun. And again, all you authors out there, never send your manuscript, never open anything that anybody sends you on email, and never ever say in an email, "Yes, I agree," because they can turn that into a contract and you're going to be sorry. Okay, bye bye everybody now.